Shalom. This is Rabbi Andrew Bloom, a congregation of Ad Shalom. I'm standing in front of the ark with a Etz Chaim, a tree of life. Now, many people often ask me, can you explain to me Judaism on one foot? And I'd like to use this tree of life in order to do that. If we look at the tree of life, or at any tree for that matter, what is the basis of a tree? The basis of a tree is, of course, the roots. It's not the trunk, it's the roots. Now, what is the roots? Or what are the roots of Judaism? The roots of Judaism are God, or is God, Adonai. For without God, no religion, Judaism, cannot grow. Without the roots, the tree cannot grow. Now, what is the next solid foundation of this tree of life, of the tree itself? It is the trunk. So what is the trunk of religion? What is the trunk of Judaism? That trunk is, of course, the Torah. The 5 books of Moses, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, as well as the writings and the prophets. So everything, our biblical heritage, which is given by God at Mount Sinai to Moses, to the children of Israel, is all contained in the Torah. But the Torah is not necessarily something that we can live by word for word, right? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. How do we go about interpreting that? We go about interpreting that according to commentary in a manner of, I would say, economic compensation. But how do we get to economic compensation? Out of the trunk comes these large branches. And these large branches, which are connected, of course, to the trunk, signifies commentary. For example, in this week's Torah portion, we read about in Exodus 1, verse 8, a new Pharaoh rose who did not know Joseph. And the biblical commentator, Rashi, comes and says, is it truly, he quotes the Talmud, Tractate Sotah 11a, is it truly a new Pharaoh? Or is it the same Pharaoh with different edicts? And he quotes 2 rabbis, Rav and Shmuel. But anyway, that comes a commentary for here. Now, out of this comes what I see as the secondary branches, the second to the large branches. And that is how you take commentary and make it into Jewish law. For example, as I just said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. How do you go about seeing it? You understand it in a different manner. So what God gave us in the Torah, how we interpret it, becomes how we live our actual lives. And then there are these smaller branches, as you can see up there. And I would say that those smaller branches are the local communities, are local customs. Because there are different customs in the Eastern European and North African, Ashkenazic and Sephardic way of life, between Orthodox, conservative, the local customs, and usually the local customs are that which is important. How we go about fulfilling and going about practicing that which we learn in the Torah, the commentary, and the practical application called Halakha, Jewish law. And then the leaves are the individual Jewish individuals, each person. And each person is important because they're connected, once again, to the tree, to the trunk, to the roots, to God. Without one of them falling, our tree is not complete. And once again, as we can see, everything goes back to the roots. Nothing is by itself. Yes, branches fall here and there as we learn more knowledge, but just as a tree in our own backyards grows a new branch, so too does commentary bring about a further connection to Judaism. And then right at top, right here, we have what's called Ner Tamid, the eternal light. And what is the eternal light? The eternal light is the eternal light of God, which shines down upon us. And if we understand this tree of life, and we grasp onto it, Etz Chaim Hi, it is a tree of life for those who grasp onto it, then God will always be the root of our being, Torah will always be in our heart, and we will be like an integral leaf on this very important Etz Chaim, this very important tree. May the tree of life always sprout, always grow, and always flourish within us. This is Rabbi Andrew Bloom with a quick lesson about Judaism and our connection to it. Thank you.